Our final speaker this morning is Milenka. The title of Milenka's speech is "We've Kept the Mountains and Lost the Grass."
March 21st, 2020. Amidst the sea of CDC edicts and more confusing travel bans, everyone panicked with an impromptu avalanche of "I miss yous" arriving quickly, but no less surely. I'd constantly hear people respond that they missed their friends and leaving the house, and so I'd reply with an empty "I miss you too." But to be completely honest, I wasn't missing them all too much. I felt guilty. I felt like I was using this epically catastrophic global pandemic as an excuse. Yet I couldn't help basking and having way more energy to do what I wanted to do. Hi, I'm Milenka, Form 4. My zodiac sign is Scorpio, my Hogwarts house is Ravenclaw, and my alignment is lawful neutral. Surely insomnia, chronic jaw tightness, and migraines might seem like a bit much, but I've always attributed my stress to family issues, schoolwork, and just general being a teenager stuff. Enter quarantine, and my ball of stress fully unraveled. I hadn't felt that good in ages. Didn't see that one coming, did you? Let me add to that list of unnecessary descriptors about myself that you have definitely already forgotten. I'm an introvert, and that's okay. Let me explain. The human energy when you walk down a busy street or gather for a family dinner in a restaurant is inescapable. As students, our senses are always bombarded by our teachers, our classmates, and the general busyness of school. Quarantine gave me a strange sense of comfort, perhaps because, for the first time, all of this stifling human energy went away. The world is built for extroverts. Schools, jobs, dating, just think about what we're graded on. Giving presentations, interacting with classmates, participating in class discussions. We live in a society that rewards extroverted traits. Employers commonly look for people who are more communicative and comfortable with teamwork. Modern success revolves around networking events, but networking? Yeah, it's basically being extrovert and walking right up to strangers. If you want me to illustrate the sentiment further, let me just recall the fact that in 2010, the American Psychiatric Association considered adding introversion as one of the criteria for schizoid personality disorder, but it was dropped due to controversial opposition. However, the very fact that it was even being considered in the first place just highlights how we live in a culture that can really pathologize introversion. Introversion also has its own myriad of misconceptions. Many people describe introverts as shy, antisocial, and depressed, but most introverts are completely fine in social settings, they just need alone time later to balance it out. I once fell down a Reddit rabbit hole and came across a post that said, "Introverts are not special or misunderstood. They're mentally ill." Their explanation? It is not natural for a person to be antisocial. Introverts need therapy. To this, I'd like to say, my personality is not an illness. It is true that introverts experience social anxiety and depression at higher rates than extroverts, but the burnout due to society's focus on an extroverted lifestyle is probably a real contributing factor. Now, I don't claim to speak for all 25 to 40% of us introverts in the world, and I won't deny that I experienced my own frustrations when it came to dealing with my family 24/7. It would be short-sighted to say that all introverts enjoyed quarantine, given the whole post-apocalyptic global vibe. Although introverts may prefer a certain amount of solitude, we still feel lonely. If I sit next to the same person in class every day, they become my anchor. I may not speak to that person outside of class, but I gravitate towards them when I enter the classroom because they're familiar. This seemingly fragile connection is something so inherently human, but something so easy to overlook. I may not miss the crowded school halls or the packing of the New York City subway, but interacting with people outside of my inner circle helps me feel as if I'm part of something larger than myself, some ones we tend to literally brush past. Without handing that $20 bill in person to the DoorDash deliverer, the exchange of thank yous is lost, and along with it, the humanity of the interaction. I think everyone, both introverts and extroverts, can recognize this. So in a sense, the pervasive 2020 isolation arises not just from not being able to see our friends, but also this eerie loss of an outer circle. Social media enables us to contact mere acquaintances, but it feels strange to purposefully contact someone that you used to only bump into for, that's 2 seconds every day? That's way too much commitment. When we have to stay 6 feet apart, when we have limited space in our bubble, we prioritize connections with those more meaningful to us. Even in-person masks inhibit our ability to emote, leading to a further sense of isolation. Quarantine has peeled away the so-called weaker friendships, and for once, extroverts who feed off of this bustling energy are getting hit the hardest. And what about me? Because our most trusted friends are our emotional rocks, those who we rely on at all times, they easily eclipse the barista at Starbucks or the ticket seller at the movie theater. But as much as introverts might prefer to stay within their own bubble of thoughts, it's too easy to get lost in them all the same. Introverts are still human. Humans are social creatures of all different flavors. I may not miss the crowded school halls, but I do miss those little head nods and little waves hello. The loss of those connections didn't seem as apparent to me when quarantine first saved me. But looking back a year later, I can see the gaping holes where they used to be. What do we do when we've kept the mountains and lost the grass? We've kept those closest to us and abandoned the others, but what is a full landscape without the grass and the trees and even the lone butterfly dancing about? The undeniable fact is that we all feel right in a complete scene. I can notice the grass and prefer not to skip around in it. But the reason why life feels so flat now is because we've lost the proof of everyone around us, living and breathing. Extroverts, hang in there and keep reaching out. Introverts, find a respite where only we can. And as the grass grows back, I hope I never again take for granted how beautiful the world looks with all of us living in it. Thank you.